Hi, this is G from Native Speakers Academy, and welcome to 10-Minute English. This is where we introduce short articles in English from the news or from around the internet for upper intermediate and advanced level students. You can see on the right side of the page here the article that we are going to look at today is advice from Harvard University. This is advice for students. Now, before we get into the article, if you would like a little bit more information about what we do, please visit our home site, which is nsa-slovakia.com. NSA is Native Speakers Academy, which is a center for educational theory and research. On our homepage, you can find links to a wealth of information to support your understanding of the world. You might also want to check out our official Native Speakers Academy YouTube page where we have hundreds of videos. You can see here on the page the first 3 official sessions of 10-Minute English, so this will be number 4 when it gets uploaded. You might also want to check out our Stefan Molyneux videos or our John Taylor Gatto videos. In fact, Mr. Gatto wrote the article that we will be looking at today. You might also want to check out my YouTube page under the name Graham William Henry. You might also want to browse through our boards on Pinterest. You can search board by board, or you can search pin by pin. You can see here some of the pins of information related to education and technology that have been posted recently. Here we have some information about drivers of education and the expansion of education. If you have a moment, you might want to explore that. So, we're here to look at an article. The article has the title Advice from Harvard University by John Taylor Gatto. If you are not aware of the work of John Taylor Gatto, then put his name into a search engine and be blown away by the wealth of research and information that he has produced on education and the history of education. I will point out some of his work at the end of this presentation. So, as usual, I have highlighted the important vocabulary in yellow. These are words or phrases which might be new to you or which are key for understanding the context. You can check these out before we go through the article, or you can try to guess from the context and check your assumptions once we have finished. If you are ready, we will begin. Advice from Harvard University by John Taylor Gatto. As I have often said and proved with documentation, forced institutional schooling was never a homegrown American phenomenon, but from the beginning was an importation from a socialist European military state by our industrial leadership. An import imposed by force on our population, which in many locations reacted violently to what was widely seen as a coup by financial interests, a coup intended to prepare our future citizen to abandon its dream of independent livelihoods in favor of competing for good corporate jobs, an employment subservient to managers. people from the age of man. Let's continue. To achieve this ambitious goal of national domination, the common American population, according to the plan, was to be converted from an independent citizenry into a proletariat, a landless, lightly rooted, ignorant rabble freed from religious faith, an inactive, indifferent mass, one content to be taken care of by a paternalistic government, one stripped of religion and traditions of liberty, independence, self-sufficiency, family ties, and concerns for politics, content to cede all such matters to bankers, lawyers, and business interests, which would become the American counterpart to Britain and Germany's upper classes. I have edited the text slightly to hopefully improve the quality of understanding, and I just edited another little part there. Because of the edit, a few paragraphs are missing so that we can actually get through this important information in the time we have. So, anyway, here comes the main focus. A few years back, the School of Government, did you know there was a School of Government at Harvard, issued advice to those planning a career in the global economy of the future. It said that school credentials would be devalued compared to real-world skills acquired by experience. It identified 10 qualities to acquire to meet the changing standards, none of which are usually found stressed by public schooling. So, here we go. Whether you're a student, whether you're a parent, whether you're a teacher, the following information is absolutely essential. Number one, you need an ability to define problems without a guide. What does this mean? This means you shouldn't need somebody to tell you what to do. Don't wait for orders. Number two, you need an ability to ask questions that challenge common assumptions. You shouldn't take anything for granted. Trust, but verify. Number three, you need an ability to work without guidance. You shouldn't need somebody looking over your shoulder. Explore by yourself. And I would add, don't be afraid. You need an ability to work absolutely alone. You shouldn't have to wait or rely too much on others. Remember, the finger points at you always. That is the nature of responsibility. You need an ability to persuade others that yours is the right course. You should know what you are doing and be able to explain why you are doing it. Number 6, you need an ability to debate issues and techniques in public. You should be able to recognize the difference between real logic and false logic or fallacy. And the key term you need to understand is logical fallacy. Logical fallacy, false arguments that exist in language and conversation. If you are unsure what this is, then if you do a Google search under logical fallacy, that will help. An ability to reorganize information into new patterns. You should be able to clearly explain and present information to different people. Especially, you should be able to clearly explain and present the same information to different people and different groups of people so that they will understand. Number 8, you need an ability to discard irrelevant information. You should be able to recognize false paths, pointless paths, and bullshit in a polite way, of course. Manners are never wasted. Good manners, that is. An ability to think dialectically. You should be able to argue with yourself and so challenge yourself. And an ability to think inductively, deductively, and heuristically. You should be able to use classical methods of reasoning. Now, in these last two examples, we can find some interesting language. We've got didactical, inductive, deductive, and heuristic. This might be something which is a little bit new for you, so I'm going to add in a little bit of extra information about those terms. If we begin with dialectical, means relating to the logical discussion of ideas and opinions, concerned with or acting through opposing forces. If we look at the Wikipedia definition, dialectic is a method of argument for resolving disagreement that has been central to European and Indian philosophy since antiquity. The dialectical method is a discourse between two or more people holding different points of view about a subject who wish to establish the truth of the matter guided by reasoned arguments. That is the dialectic. Following this, we have inductive, to think inductively. Inductive reasoning, as opposed to deductive reasoning, is reasoning in which the premises seek to supply strong evidence for, not absolute proof of, the truth of the conclusion. Furthermore, inductive reasoning this repeats the last definition. This expands it. In inductive reasoning, while the conclusion of a deductive argument is supposed to be certain, the truth of the conclusion of an inductive argument is supposed to be probable based upon the evidence given. So that's inductive. Following this, I think we should look at deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning is a logical process in which a conclusion is based on the concordance of multiple premises that are generally assumed to be true. It is a process of reasoning from one or more statements to reach a logically certain conclusion. Deductive reasoning links premises with conclusions. If all premises are true, the terms are clear, and the rules of deductive logic are followed, then the conclusion reached is necessarily true. A tightrope of philosophical logic, I suggest this is. And the last word is a heuristic, meaning enabling a person to discover or learn something for themselves. A heuristic technique, sometimes called simply a heuristic, is any approach to problem-solving, learning, or discovery that employs a practical methodology not guaranteed to be optimal or perfect, but sufficient for the immediate goals. Just like these presentations, hopefully. I hope that clears up the terminology for you. So, to conclude, how could schools even function if children are encouraged to challenge prevailing assumptions? That's a great question. If you want your kids to follow Harvard's advice, you'll have to arrange a work plan by yourself. Expect no help from your school district, from your school, or from your teachers. Maybe even no help from your friends or neighbors or family. Prudent seekers of intellectual development often focus their investigations to time-tested. Should that be focus their investigations on, not to? Interesting grammar. Focus their investigations. Focus on something. Focus their investigations on time-tested classical educational methods acknowledged by respected critics to contain artistic value. This is to illustrate the Harvard principle that the best minds screen irrelevant material from their attention. Of course, in institutional schooling, one attends to what is ordered by superiors. No selectivity is allowed to students. You can't really choose your subjects, or your classrooms, or your chairs, or your desks, or your courses, or your teachers, or your curriculum, or even your school. Oh my God. Merely disliking material is insufficient reason to avoid it. A case providing its irrelevancy must be mounted. Before it will be accepted by authorities. A little bit of an edit there at the end. The last statement suggesting that you cannot just say that you don't like something. You must be able to explain why you don't like it. Finding ways to practice all 10 of these assertions will be a useful tool for all your students to use in demonstrating an educated command of mind. It's also something that all parents should teach their children. The source of the article is AERO, which is the Alternative Education Resource Organization. A link to the original article, which contains more information, will be posted together with this online. What are my thoughts? My thoughts are, how big is the system? It's quite something to go up against, to oppose, to fight against. Can we change anything? Do we have any control? Perhaps through Parent Teachers Association we have a little. How can education be good if it is forced? Because simply everything forced has already failed. But nothing is perfect, so everything can be improved, and there's lots of room for that in our education system. What are you doing? What are you doing to improve things? Do you even know what's happening in the school systems around about you? How much do you know about the history of education, where it came from, where it started, the trials that society has gone through? And all education can be individual if you work on yourself and improving yourself and making yourself better. If you go to our homepage and type in John Taylor Gatto at the top, followed by clicking search the site, you will find a series of links. I can recommend Understanding Weapons of Mass Instruction. There are a huge list of links to the work of John Taylor Gatto. Another page that you can link to is the Ultimate History Lesson, which is a 5-hour interview with John Taylor Gatto. If you can force yourself to sit down and watch it, that'll be Great. I can also recommend two articles that I have written based on the work of John Taylor Gatto. The first is Six Functions of Secondary Education, and the second is the 13 Principles of Elite Schools. So there are a lot of resources that you can explore there. Also, just for your information, I discovered this online. It's posted by Harvard University and it's called If I Knew Then. It is advice on careers, finance and life from Harvard Business School's class of 1963. And what it is a compilation of advice from former graduates about careers, marriage and family, business, leadership, wealth, growing older, charity and spirituality, happiness and success, turning points, and life's lessons. I think that there might be some really useful advice that you could pick up there. So this is about all we have time for today. I hope that I gave you something to think about. Links to everything relevant will be posted with the article. You can connect with us through Facebook, through Google+, through LinkedIn, on Pinterest. There are lots of ways. Why don't you give us some feedback? Tell us what you like. Tell us what you want to see more of. Give us some advice. If you are further interested, you might want to take one of our special one-to-one English language study programs. Just send us an email for more info. With this video, you can like, subscribe, share, ignore, do whatever you want. That's about it. I hope you have a really good day, and I will speak to you soon. Goodbye for now.